Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Tabitha. I'll take you through the TaroWorks Streamlined translation feature. Starting TaroWorks 7.5, the TaroWorks admins can now efficiently create forms and jobs in multiple languages, Salesforce translation workbench. This will help improve version control. It will simplify language management across the diverse regions. And also, this is made possible by using custom labels, which can be translated into the different languages that will then be referenced in the TaroWorks forms and jobs. So what this means is that you'll only need to have one TaroWorks form and job for the different languages. Okay, so in this session, we'll take a deep dive into configuring this feature in TaroWorks, forms and jobs, and then we showcase its use and the experience on the mobile side. We'll also highlight some important aspects at the end of this presentation. Well, for my use case today, I'll be using a fictitious social enterprise company called Aquacom. So Aquacom works in remote communities. They install water filters in households, ensuring they get safe drinking water. And at Aquacom, the field staff work in different regions, and being able to work in multiple languages is key for this organization. So in this demo, you'll be able to see two members checking in on a well site construction and marking the progress. And one user will be in English and the other user will be in Spanish, and they'll both be using the same job. So the key benefit here is that each staff member can use the TaroWorks app in the language they're most comfortable with. So meaning faster input, fewer errors, and also a smoother experience in their field activities. So let's get started. So the first step is to enable the language settings, and let me do this as I explain. So I'm already logged into, should be here. Let's go here. So I'm logged into my Salesforce instance. So the first step is to enable the language settings by going to setup. So my org, because I've already set up this would be already checked, but let me just show you how you go about it. So setup, quick find, go to language settings. And this is check the language preferences. So you check these two for the end user languages and the platform only languages. And then once you've done that, then down here, you need to add the languages to translate from available languages to the displayed languages. So for my use case today, I'm translating Spanish. So I've already added the Spanish language here. But if I were to add another different language, then I'll need to select it from these available languages and then add it to these displayed languages and then save. Also, next step, would be to now the languages now that you wish to translate under the translation workbench. So in instances where you haven't enabled the translation, that will be the first prompt here to enable the translation workbench. So because I've already set this up, so my translation workbench is already enabled. Then here is now where you would add the language, and as you can see, my Spanish is already added. And also the English language. So if I were to add a new language that I want to translate, then I'll click on add and then select different language. Let's just pick one for X. And then you add the translator. That, and then you click on save. And so this is the language that the TaroWorks mobile user will be assigned as per the translation. So that is the first step. Now, once that is set up, let me go back to the deck. Okay, so we've already done language settings, translation workbench, added the active languages under the translation workbench. Then the next step is creating the custom labels. So the custom labels, like we mentioned, they are custom text values that can be translated into different languages to enable the multilingual application. So, and here, this is the core of the implementation, since whatever you want to be translated must first be defined as a custom label or under custom labels, and then now add the respective translation or translations if you're adding many languages. So you can manually create the labels and also add the respective translations, but also there's a way you can also mass create those labels and also mass add the respective translations. So let me go back to my instance. So I'm going to show you, let's first do how you manually add a custom label in a translation. Then I'll show you one of the ways you can also do mass create the labels and the translations. So still under setup, we go to we'll search for custom labels. Okay. And here I want to create a new custom label. Let's take an example. Okay, so once you click on new, so there are a number of fields here. The ones you can see, they're like, there are 3 mandatory fields here. One is a short description. So this is the label that should be easy to recognize, and this is what you'll see under the either under list views or on the user interface. So I'll take a simple example and say name is what I want to translate. The name, you notice it's automatically populated. The name field is a unique auto-generated defined API name that is used to reference the label here. So the most important thing is that it must start with a letter, and it can only contain alphanumeric character, no spaces, but use underscore. So this is important, especially when you're creating, you want to mass create. So it's important to have that in mind. Language is the current language setting. Category is optional. So this is used to group your labels if you want to use that. And then the other mandatory field is the value. So value is the actual text that you want to show or you want to store. So for example, you can say name of the beneficiary as an example. So once we have the label, we save. Okay. And now you can see now we have the provision to add the translation. So click on new. And since I'm using Spanish today, I'll select the language as Spanish. And then translation, I'll use that, and then I'll save. Okay, so that's how you add the custom label and how you add the respective translation. Now, before I show you on now how that translates the TaroWorks forms and jobs, let me show you how to mass create. So when it comes to mass deploying or mass creating the custom labels and the respective translations, the different ways you can use. You can use the native change sets. You can use other DevOps platforms like GearSet, Copado, and the like. However, today I'll focus on using the Workbench, and this is where we'll be working with XML files without the need to set up some of those complex developer tools. So I'm going to show you how to take a simple CSV file containing your labels and translations, then we'll convert that to XML files, and then we'll deploy it in the Workbench. So you'll be able to see that within a few minutes. I'm going to use a very simple example. So we have these steps on our support site, and we have provided a sample CSV template that you can use. So this is sort of mimics what we have seen on when you're creating the label on the user interface. So the full name is the name field. The one we said is the unique auto-generated API name to reference the label. Short description is the label itself. Then the language is the default or the current setting. So this will be the English label language. Sorry. Then in this CSV file, we have a field called protected. So protected is a checkbox that determines whether the custom label that you're going to create is only accessible within its own managed package. So because we want these labels that we are adding to be accessible for all your local configurations, that's why we'll have the default setup as false. So this is what we'll just drag once we add our other elements that we want to translate, to create the labels and translate. And then the value is, like we said, what the actual text value that you want to show. So in this template, what you do, you would get a copy of this template, populate columns A to F. Oh, sorry, so F is the translation label. So the example I have here is a Spanish translation. So the translation label, then you would replace here with the translation language. So what you do is populate columns A to F, then columns G and H are formula fields. So this column G is the label creation. This is what we will use to create the XML file. So this will be the label. And then column H is what also we'll use to create the XML file for the translation. So I'll show you this. Okay, so with that, so for the demo, I've already, to save on time, I've already gone ahead and downloaded the template, or rather made a copy and populated my 3 elements. So I want to create a label for first name, age, and registration. So what the idea here is that I have a sample form for registration where I'm only capturing the first name and the age just to keep it simple. So that's why I'm translating the question, the first name and the age, and then also this is the name of the form, which will also be the name of the job. So as you can see, I have populated these columns up to the Spanish translations here, and then I already have my label creation formula here and the translation here. So once I have this ready, then you will now we create the file. So we need to create 3. Let me explain them. So we need to create 3 XML files. The first one is for creating the labels, which is what we'll use. The second XML is for creating the translations. And then we have a third XML file we call the package.xml file. So the package is we call it the manifest. It's called the manifest file. So think of it as the glue that binds everything together. So it will tell Salesforce to look for the custom labels and to look for the translation component. So we need that's why we need the package XML file. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So the XML file, you use text editor. So I prefer to use Notepad++. So again, I already set up this. So this, we have it on our support site on how to go through this whole process. And these are the labels, or this is what I have captured or copied from this column G. Okay, so I have this. And then this is a translation I've copied from column H. Then this is the first package XML file. So I'll tell you about the next one. Now that we have our XMLs ready, let's talk about the folder setup, because for the workbench, we'll need to upload a zip file. So let's see how that, how we create that. So that I'm going to create with you. So let's assume, okay. Let me create a folder here. So we'll start with root folder. Let me call it Aqua. Okay, so this is the structure. Sorry, before I go to the structure, when you're using the workbench to create the labels and the translations, you have to do it in 2 phases. So the first phase is to create the labels. Then the second phase is to now add the translations to the labels that you've already created. So the first phase we're doing now is to create the labels. So this is the folder structure, if I can call it so. So my root folder is called Aqua. Okay, then inside this, for the first deployment, I need to add another folder called labels. So this is what will store the XML file that has the labels. So it's very important to note the naming naming convention, if I can call it so. It's labels, everything is small letters. So back to my text editor. I have this custom label. I need to save it in my new folder, in the labels folder rather. You find it in the desktop, so it's called Aqua and it's in labels. So I already have my file name here. Then the next important thing is to make sure you save it as all types. Okay, and then we save. So that's fast. So for this fast deployment, we need to first deploy the labels. And remember we said for that, we also need the package file. So I already had this. So the package file is just for this deployment just contains the custom labels. So then I'm going to save this in the main folder. So it needs to be under the root folder. So here, so I'll call this package.xml. And again, make sure it's saved as all types. Okay. Now we have everything ready. The next thing we need to do is to create a zip file that we'll then use in our workbench. So I'll have this to create a zip file. Okay, that's ready. Now let's switch hats and now log into workbench. So I have my workbench here. So I need to, it's very important to ensure you're logging into the right instance. Okay, good. So you confirm we're in the right webinar. Once we're in the, we're in the right instance, not webinar. So webinars is the name of my instance. So under migration, we click on deploy. Then we choose our zip file. It should be in desktop, the folder aqua zip. Okay, then ensure so in all these checkbox, what we need to check is the rollback on error in case we encounter any errors, then the single package so that deployment can be successful. Excuse me. And we click next and then we click deploy. And you can see status succeeded. So we've been able to create the labels and I can do a quick check. Let's see. Age. So we have the age here. We have the custom label here created. So now what's missing, or the next step now, is to create the translation. So again, I will need to, so already had my translation. Now in terms of the folder structure, so because I'll need to create another zip file, so let me first delete that. For the translations, then the XML file needs to be saved in a folder in the root folder, and we call this translations. Everything small letter. So this is where we're going to save our translation XML. And because I'll need to create a new package XML file so that now I can have the custom labels and the translation, then I also need to delete that. So back to my text editor. So I'll save the translation. And it's ES for Spanish dot translation. So the extension needs to be dot translation. Salesforce provides a link. We have a link on the support from Salesforce on the language coding, so that whenever you're saving, you save the file name with the correct language code. So for example, Spanish is ES, Portuguese, European should be PT_PT. So, but we have that link on the support site. So I need to make sure I'm saving it in the translations folder. Then I'll click save. And now I have my other package XML. Remember, this is the glue manifest file. So already now it has the labels and then the translation. So I also need now to save a new package in the main folder again. and this needs to be all types. Okay, then we save. Okay. No. Okay, let's try again. It's in Aqua. All types. Save. Okay. So once we have that, then it's time now to make our zip file again. Okay, that's done. Then we go back to our workbench. We do the second phase, still confirming I'm in the right instance. Add the zip file, then check the rollback on error and single package checkbox. Click next and then click deploy. Okay, succeeded. So we have now updated the translation. And just a very quick check here. Can see the translation for age has been added. So that's one of the ways you can mass create the custom labels and their respective translations. I would like now to show you the syntax on the TaroWorks forms and jobs. But before that, is there any question, Daryl?
Thank you. Thank you, Tabitha, for taking us through that first part of doing mass upload of translations, the custom labels. Checking through the questions tab, we have a question here, which languages are supported? So as Tabitha went through the demo, under the language settings, those languages that are listed there, those are the supported languages. And then on the TaroWorks site, we have a list of the supported languages, and I'll just post the link in the chat so that you can get to see the list of supported languages. Hope that answers your question. Please keep the questions coming through the questions tab at the top right corner in this GoToWebinar interface. Back to you, Tabitha.
Awesome. Thanks, Daryl. So now that we have our custom labels and translations in place, now we can now proceed to translate TaroWorks form and job. So you can either, sorry, before I go, so the syntax for referencing the translations in the forms and jobs is using the $label.name. So name is, if you remember, this API name. So that is the syntax, $label.name, and I'll show you in one of the forms. So let's assume, so with what we have just uploaded in terms of the labels and translations, I have a very simple form. So we're going to assume I'm translating an existing form. So what I'll do is I'll clone the form. For example, this is the registration form. I just want to use this to show you the syntax. So once I clone the form, then now I can now change it or edit it to make sure that it's referencing the custom labels. So for example, say it's $label dot the name. So I already know registration was, I can just do a quick confirmation. But registration, the name was also registration. Yeah, here we are. Okay, so I can then I'll save that, save and continue to get to the question builder. And then I can proceed to translate the rest. So I have registration, so it's the same label I'm going to use. So just edit that and save. First name, just to show you how it could be different. So first name should be first_name. Yeah, this is how the label, not the label, sorry, the name that we are referencing here. So I'll edit. And what is important is we only want to edit the caption, because that is what is visible, that is what the end user, the TaroWorks mobile user will see. So that's what we change or we edit. Then we save, and then we do the same for age. Label.age, label, like that. So that's how we translate. So you can either translate a form like that, or you can use the TaroWorks download feature to download the form, make the changes, and then import it back. So if I can show you the example, what we're going to showcase on the mobile side in terms of the configuration. Another thing to note is that since we are only translating what the mobile user will see on their mobile device, so for example, you can see we've translated the title, the message after submission. So on the question builder, you'll notice for example, the website number is hidden. So any field that is hidden, you can save time by not translating that, since that is not visible to the mobile user on their device. So you can also save time by only translating what is visible, what is not hidden for the mobile user. So this is how it would look like. Something to mention about translating the pick list values. So translating pick list values has some extra step, I believe two. So the first step is what we've just done, add the label and add the respective translation. Then what you need to have after you create those labels is create a global pick list value set. And I'll show you since I've already created for that called status. So you create a global value set. And then in terms of the values, you add the labels. The values is similar to what you are referencing in the form here. So you see that's the format, or that's the syntax. That's what you reference here. Once you've added them here, then you also need to translate them under the translation workbench. Yeah, again, we have all these steps on our support site. So once you click on translate, the language is Spanish. Then the setup action here is the global. I'm interested in the global value set. And then you can see it's here. So for Spanish, then for all the languages that you are translating, you need to add their respective translations here. It's taking time. Here, so I have added them here. Then once you, so that this becomes your central place of either adding or editing any values that you need. Then from here now, you create now your normal pick list field in your object, which will then have the values from the global value set. So it's important to mention that here. Okay. So now that we have seen the configuration side of things, it's now time to switch gears and see the mobile side of things. And like I've mentioned, we have these steps on our support site, taroworks.zendesk.com. Under Pro Features, we have the steps here for using the forms and jobs translation. And then if you search for a way to create custom labels, then you have the article on how to, the steps to go about that. So let's switch hats now and be mobile user. So the first one I'm going to show you is the English speaking user, so that we see, and they're both assigned the same job. So I'll just quickly show you. There we are. So the job we have is the website progress. So the mobile user here is English speaking, so their device is in English. So they click on website progress. You select the website. Let's say select the first one. We have the details from drill down hierarchy, and then we have the section. And let's say, for example, this one is at excavation. You have the option to take the progress photo and report an issue. So let's just keep that for now. And we'll sync that. So both users assign the same job. Okay, so that's okay. Oh, so that's the English side. So let me show you. Oh, sorry, I have to open another session. So let me show you the Spanish user. Still assign the same job. So let's pick this. There, maybe as I'm loading it, maybe.
Yeah, thanks, Tabitha. Just checking through the questions. There's one more question. And this is, what happens if a mobile user language isn't set up correctly? So in the event that the mobile user's language does not match the languages that are translated, then the form will not perform the translation. And so it's good to make sure that on the TaroWorks mobile user record, the language is matches the language that is set up in the translations, and also from the user record in the backend, that the language on the user record also has to match. Right? Hope that answers your question. Please keep the questions coming in the questions tab, and we'll be able to respond. Yeah, back to you, Tabitha.
Thanks, Darrell. So we are now logged in as a Spanish speaking user. So go to the jobs tab. You can see that the job is now translated to Spanish, including the title. Then so everything now is in Spanish. We start the job. So the only thing you notice is that the records passed from the drill down hierarchy, the actual records cannot be translated. Same case with the objects, because these are the objects that we're selecting in the drill down hierarchy. But however, everything else can be translated. So so these again are values passed from Salesforce, not translated. So you can see region, website number, and then this is the progress. So let's say this one is installation. And also, like we translated the thank you message, so you can see it there. And then we complete the job, and then we sync. Yeah, those changes or any data coming in will then be translated to the default language of the backend user. So for example, I'll be able to see the website, I believe was West 3. Yeah, just confirm this is the one we just did. Yes, 1735. Yeah, and you can see the new status is already updated. Okay, so that's how we use the Translation Pro feature to be able to use one form, one job. So this is the job that I used, and you can so the next step, I mean, after now you set up this the first time. So let's say tomorrow you have a new language to add. The only thing you need to add is the translations, because then it will, the form now, since it's already set up, will be able to pick whatever translation as per the mobile user. So that's how you do the setup. So this information, like I've said, is available on the support side. However, if you need us to support you to set up this, you can always speak to customer success manager, and we'll be happy to support on that. So back to the deck. So we've talked about the translation, we've done the mobile data. So lastly, a few things to notice that one, you must ensure that the TaroWorks mobile users are assigned the translated language, and I believe that's related to the first question or to the previous question. Yeah, you have to assign them the language, and maybe I can actually show you quickly. This is my Spanish speaking user, and the language assigned is Spanish. So you must ensure you assign them the language that you've translated. If you have missing custom labels, you get the users will get an error on sync. So again, as best practice, always good to test the jobs yourself before you assign them to your field staff. And as we have seen, the drill down hierarchy data passed from Salesforce, that one can be translated, same to the objects. And then here we have if a TaroWorks admin changes maybe the user language to another language, or they make a change to a translation value, the TaroWorks user can sync successfully. However, in some situations, some translations may not be affected as expected. So to resolve this, you can either ask the mobile users to re-download the jobs, or the system, the TaroWorks admin can edit the form, like just click the edit button, and then without making any changes to the form, and then now republish the form and ask the users to sync. So that has been like very few cases where if you make changes and then sometimes they don't fully effect. And then you might have flows that or custom scripts that may fail because of the special character replacements when we are using the custom labels. And the last one is important when you're doing the mass creation, to note the character length limits of the short description is 255 characters. The name, which is the API field, is 80, and the value, which is the actual text, is 1,000 characters. So this is important when you're doing the mass deployment. Yeah. Great. So I'll now pause and open the session for any questions or comments regarding this Pro feature on translation. Thank you, everyone.